This is a sauce that tastes like a queso cheese dip, but it isn't made with Velveeta. It's made with 3 ingredients. Today we're gonna make an easy Mexican dish. All you'll need is cream of chicken, Rotel with diced tomatoes. I choose mild because I'm a baby about spice. Cheese and or cream cheese, depending on how creamy you want it. I'm gonna start by making taco beans. Instead of taco meat, it's beans with taco seasoning on them. A 1/4 cup of red beans. Look through the beans to see if you find any rocks or if any beans look rotten. This one's just broken in half, which is not a big deal. A 1/4 cup of black beans. Look through them as well. There's one that's broken. That's not a big deal. Rinse the beans off in the sink. Drain the water. I cover the beans with beef stock. For the first cooking, I don't measure the amount. I just want the beans to be covered with about 1 inch of liquid. I use beef stock because I think it adds more nutrients and more flavor, but water works just fine. You could do water in a bouillon cube. And I am using cream of chicken, so maybe I should have used chicken stock. But these are taking the place of hamburger, which is why I chose beef stock. I'm cooking them on pressure cook, 25 minutes. The black beans are almost at the end of the package, so I just added the rest of them in. So I'm cooking a little bit more than 3/4 of a cup of dried beans. The beans are still covered with 1 inch of water, so I don't need to worry about adding more water, even though I added more beans. And now I'm gonna cook it for 25 minutes. I'm gonna cut up a stalk of celery and a mini bell pepper. This one's really long. It's from my garden. These are closer to the mini ones from the grocery store. These are both from my garden though. When I make taco beans in the Instant Pot, I cook them twice. The first time I cook them halfway, that's the 25 minutes, and then I'm gonna cook them for another 20 minutes after that. Because these are gonna get cooked in the Instant Pot with the taco beans in their second cooking, I'm not worried about the size because they're gonna be soft enough that you can mush them against the roof of your mouth with just your tongue. I've been on a soft food diet for 2.5 years. The food's still really flavorful, it's just not crunchy. So 1 stalk of celery, cut the top off the pepper and get the seeds out. But when you throw away the water in the middle of cooking the beans, you throw away a lot of those compounds that can make beans a little musical to your intestines. And also, I'm doing it because the beans are gonna cook most of the way in the first cooking. And then in the second one, I add in diced tomatoes, and I don't want there to be too much soup around the beans. I want them still to just be mostly beans. So throwing out my extra water makes sure that the beans also aren't too soupy. I like using the snack-sized bell peppers because they have a really thin cell wall. If you look at it compared to like a pinky fingernail, it's much, much thinner. And so then when I'm cutting pieces, I don't have to worry about cutting the pieces of something that's really thick. So even if I cut the pieces really small, the thickness still makes it a big chunk. So peppers will still get really soft in the Instant Pot, but the skin of peppers always makes me a little nervous as far as eating it on a soft food diet. So I cut the pepper pieces to be 1 millimeter to 1/4 of an inch. They'll still be super soft because they're getting cooked in the Instant Pot. I cannot believe it is almost the end of summer. Like all the stores have mums out already. They've had mums since the beginning of August. I was like, come on guys, give summer a chance. But everybody seems to be ready to move on to fall. And these are all gonna go in with the beans in their second cooking. I'm also gonna use a packet of taco seasoning. That's kind of where they get the name from, but they're just beans with Mexican flavoring, like taco spices. I forgot the onion. I'm gonna cut up an onion, also into really small pieces, like 1/4 of an inch, and add that in with this stuff to add into the beans once they're done with their first cooking, and a clove of garlic. Also corn. If you feel like the corn pieces are gonna be too big, then I would put them through the food processor first. Also, diced tomatoes. Sometimes the tomato pieces inside a can of diced tomatoes are really large, so a lot of times I run it through the food processor and turn it more into tomato sauce, or just to make those tomato pieces smaller. The sauce that I'm making to go over them, it's actually listed. If you look up the recipe, it's described as a dip, but I'm just going to be pouring it over the beans. So it might be a little thick, and if it is, I would just thin it out with a little bit of chicken stock or water. For the sauce, we're going to start with a can of cream of chicken. There we go. And then a can of Rotel tomatoes with diced green chilies. You don't want to drain the tomatoes. You want to add them in, sauce and all. The cream of chicken is going to make this taste creamy anyway, but if you want to add more creaminess to it, you can add cream cheese. And I'm also going to add in a half cup of regular cheese. I'm using a mixture of cheddar cheese and Colby Jack, because I couldn't decide between the two, so I just split them in half and did a little bit of each. That happens a lot when I'm cooking, is I can't decide on a certain flavor, so I do a little bit of each flavor that I have. You absolutely don't have to do that. I would go with whatever cheese you really like in Mexican food. And I think the green chilies in a can of Rotel is Hatch green chilies, but it doesn't say on the back of the can, it just says chopped green chili peppers. This will have the same feel as like a queso dip to it. If you want to make the actual queso dip that's on the back of the can, you would use Velveeta cheese and a can of Rotel. For the sauce, just start heating it up, then add in the cheese, and mix it together till the cheese is melted. Ooh, I made a mess. That's not a surprise either. I am good at making a mess. I even wrote a song about it. Once the beans are done, we're going to drain the excess liquid, drain out all of what makes beans a musical fruit. We're going to add the beans back in, and then add in all the vegetables we chopped up. If you want, you can saute the vegetables first. There's a saute function on the Instant Pot. Just put in a little bit of oil, add the vegetables, and saute for a few minutes. Add the frozen corn and diced tomatoes, along with the beans after sauteing. In a packet of taco seasoning, we're going to pressure cook it for 20 minutes. We're not going to add any more liquid because as the vegetables cook, they'll release liquid. When the beans are done, you can see that there's still some liquid in the bottom of the pot, and that's from the vegetables cooking, but it's not too liquidy, it's not soupy. To make the bowl, I take corn chips like Doritos or tostadas, and I put them in the blender till they're a fine powder. And then I put that in the bottom of the bowl. I put the beans on top, and then I pour the sauce on top of all that. It makes it feel like you're eating queso dip with a chip, even though you can't eat chips. If you want, you can take everything and turn it into a casserole. Start with rice and beans. Mix them together. Need more beans. Now add the sauce and mix that in. I'm going to bake it at 350 for about 20 minutes or until everything is warmed up again. And if you want more cheese, you can put cheese on top. But I think cheese crust is something that you have to bite through because it cools down really quickly and then it forms a crust. And I can't bite through things right now, so if I'm going to add more cheese, I'm going to mix it in with everything, and then I don't have to bite through it. I think the queso sauce is enough cheesy flavor, though. I don't think I need to add more cheese. And because I am sensitive to spice, this was spicy for me, so I had to eat it with sour cream to help soothe the spice.